guys, we're gonna make some venison jerky today. If you don't have any venison and you're looking to make jerky with beef, a couple good cuts for that might be a top round, London broil. I've even heard people using flank steak. You're basically looking for something with very little fat content on it because you need to be able to trim off all the fat that you can because that's the part that actually goes rancid. So we're gonna do two different recipes today. We're gonna do a home Cajun recipe, and then we're also gonna use a store-bought kit. Both these will be a Cajun, but really the difference between the two is one uses a curing salt, and there is some controversy around curing salts. It does help extend the shelf life, make it a little bit more safe to consume. However, there has been some studies as well that show that it can increase cancer rate in mice. So it's sort of up to you on what you want to do. I know most home jerky, you don't generally use curing salt. Where the store-bought stuff, they use that, and that's how they're able to get a 12 to 14 month shelf life on something like that. Plus they purge their bags and fill them with nitrogen, remove any oxygen, and then they usually put a oxygen moisture absorber in their bags as well. So one thing I did want to point out is you will notice a difference in the color of the meat when it gets all done. The one that has the curing salt will be much more red. If you do want to use curing salt and you don't have access to it with maybe a kid or something, if you run down to your grocery store, Morton sells something called Quick Tender. There's also a lot of other places that sell it as well online. So without the curing salt, usually shelf life's around 2 weeks. It's recommended to keep it in your fridge. If you do use curing salt, I've heard of guys getting 2 months out of it, but it really comes down to your storage, making sure you keep it in a cool, dark place. But by using the curing salt, it does make it much more shelf stable. So I've already made all my cuts here. I tried to remove all the fat and then slice them up to very consistent sized cuts. One little tip I do have is throw it in your freezer for a couple hours before slicing it up. It's pretty easy to get nice consistent sized cuts. If you have something that's already frozen, thaw it out in the fridge. Don't leave it out on the counter. You don't want to run the risk of contaminating your meat at all because a lot of times you're smoking at lower temperatures, and if that's in there, it's not going to get rid of it, and you want to reduce that risk. So for the store-bought kit, we're going to use one by Eastman Outdoors. This is a Cajun kit. There's a packet for curing salt and a packet for seasoning. If you didn't want to use curing salt, obviously you don't have to use that. And you just follow the instructions. It gives you a per pound basis on how much to use. So they say Lewis and Clark's original jerky marinade consisted of salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper. We keep things pretty basic here. We don't do any Worcestershire sauce, any soy sauce, but that is an option. You can swap out these different ingredients. And if you look at Cajun recipes, a lot of them are very consistent in the same type of ingredients. So you can feel free to adjust things how you want to your taste. So I'm going to mix all my ingredients into sort of a flat pan. It doesn't really matter what you use. Just want to find a way to easily coat every piece of jerky very consistently. So now we'll put this in the fridge, let it sit for 4 hours. You can do it quite a bit longer if you want, 12 hours, 24 hours. I haven't noticed a tremendous difference in the flavor changes from 4 hours on. So while this meat is marinating, we'll also get our wood chips soaking. All right, we're gonna get some of these jerky laid out on some of these trays here. You can see it's starting to brown up now because of some of the salts and everything that's in there. When laying things out, we're going to want to make sure they don't overlap each other. They can touch, but we don't want them to overlap at all. So if you don't have a smoker, you can also do it in a dehydrator, or I've even done it in an oven. You basically set your stove on the lowest setting possible, crack the door, and stick it in there and dry it that way. So we're using some hickory chips to smoke this jerky. Hickory is one of my favorite to smoke meats with. You can pretty much use any type of hardwood. The one downside about hickory is if you actually over smoke it, you can develop some bitter flavors in the meat. Oak's another one I don't think a lot of people talk about smoking with. It's pretty nice flavor to it, and it's very hard to over smoke it, where you get that negative effect. So these are the smokers we're going to use. Nothing fancy. They're about $100 brand new, but be honest, keep your eye out at garage sales. You can find these usually for a couple bucks. I think I found this one several years ago at a garage sale probably less than $5. My buddy found this one at a garage sale for a couple bucks, cleaned it up, gave it to me because he knows I like to smoke a lot of meat, especially during the fall time when the diver ducks start coming in. That's how I usually consume a lot of that meat, is just make jerky out of them. But you can see they're pretty simple little setup here. The racks you put in here, and then you put your smoking chips down here. The only downside with these is they're just pretty much good for jerky. There's no adjustable thermostat. They run at about 165 degrees. So there's no way to really control stuff very well.